What's happening, people? Welcome into the Wednesday edition of the Daily Betslip. I'm Ben Heisler. With me is our guy, Iain MacMillan. Fun show on the docket for today. We'll dive into the game of the night, game one between the Dallas Mavericks and Golden State Warriors. Iain, I hope that despite you being not an NBA guy, I hope that over the last few weeks, even with the Stanley Cup playoffs going on, and now the Maple Leafs are gone, maybe you can start to venture into the wonderful world of NBA. Have you arrived at that point yet? Or are you still just being like, all right, no, I got my lane. I'm sticking to it.
No, I've tried in the past. I've tried to become an NBA guy several times in the past. It just hasn't worked out. I'm just not into it, to be honest. It's fine. It's fine. If there's nothing else on, I'll turn it on. Or if it's like a game 7 or something, I'll watch a little bit of it. But yeah, I'm just not an NBA guy. I've accepted that.
All right. Well, then I too can accept you for accepting that. So I can get behind that. But we will dive into the game of the night coming up in about 30, 40 minutes from now. Bad beat of the day coming up in just a couple minutes. We have your best bets along with ours. Iain is going with several different plays in the NHL and also a play for tomorrow's PGA Championship action. I have a couple MLB plays as well as another WNBA play. We finally had our first loss on the WNBA slate for the Daily Betslip. Just devastating. Thought we were going to go undefeated the entire summer. Was not the case, but we lived to see another day. And then coming up in about 20 minutes or so, we're going to get some names ahead of the PGA Championship. And if you've been reading Ian's content over at BetSided, Joe Summers has also done some great work as well, getting you ready for the PGA Championship. We're going to play a little game of a 4-score, player fade, whatever you want to call it. But there are several key names that are available ahead of the PGA Championship. And there's still a lot of questions on whether or not it's the right price to bet on them. So Iain and I are going to debate a handful of those names that I think a lot of us have been going back and forth on. I know you have your guys ahead of the PGA Championship, but do you feel like, just outside looking in, that this is maybe one of the more tougher times you've had landing on a candidate that you felt really, really good about?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, yeah, this tournament I kind of split between guys who I like and guys who I don't like, and then it's kind of the tough job of then narrowing it down to because I only want to place 3 outright bets. I'm not one of those guys that are going to go and place 8 different guys to win. So I think making the final couple of cuts and deciding which ones I was going to go with was tough, but it's also tough because we haven't seen this course since 2007. So not a lot of recent history at all to kind of go off of for Southern Hills. So you got to just kind of read what the reports are saying and try to figure out who's going to be able to play at least half decent this week.
One of the things that I did see across the Twitter timeline, that if you're going to go and see a tournament at Southern Hills, from a sightline perspective, it's one of the best in the country to be able to go out and see a course, which again, I don't think a lot of us maybe think of Southern Hills as like a must check off place if you're going to go and check out an actual golf tournament. But if you have a great place wherever you're going to line up, I don't know if you've gone and covered any golf tournaments before. I have not had the opportunity to do so, but if you're just trying to, everything's uphill and you can't see anything along the way. My dad and my brother went, I think, to the US Open at Erin Hills a handful of years ago, and they said the sightlines were really solid there. Southern Hills almost takes it up another notch, where you can just get a sight of everybody wherever you line up.
Yeah, no, I haven't covered any golf tournaments yet. Hopefully sometime soon. Yeah, the golfers on the PGA Tour are all praising this course too. I think Max Homa said he was halfway through his first practice round, and he said it's already one of his favorite courses. Scotty Scheffler is a big fan of this course, so I think a lot of hardcore golf fans. I know there's a couple podcasts I listen to of guys who are real golf architecture nerds. I think they're going to be praising this course all weekend. So I'm excited to see how it looks on TV, because it always comes across a little bit different on TV as well. So yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a fun tournament.
I think so too. Before we get into the bad beat of the day, our guy Peter weighs in and wants to know, it's probably more of a question for you, Iain, as our lead golf analyst over at BetSide, and I can weigh in with sort of what I tend to look for as well. But how do you handicap when a course hasn't been played on tour in a while? What are the things and the trends that you're looking for?
You just kind of have to rely on other things, because, I mean, ideally you would have stats to look at, you would have recent form to look at, and you'd have past course experience to look at. In these types of situations, you just cross off past, results at the course, and then you have to weigh statistics and recent form a little bit higher. So you don't really change anything outside of, you just kind of have that one added tool that you would normally have to be able to handicap. I mean, look at last week, KH Lee at the AT&T Byron Nelson. He was a defending champion, and he's 100-1. I picked him top 20 just based on, I know he plays well at that course. He always plays well at TPC courses. Some people like to call him TPC Lee. So I put him top 20. He ended up winning for the second year straight at like 110-1 or something. So when you get, the same courses year after year, you have that extra added handicapping skill. But in these courses, you just don't have them, and there's no real other substitute. You just have to weigh stats and recent form a little bit more than you normally would.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times if you can go back and check out how a course played, even like Southern Hills for 15 years ago, it can provide a little bit of perspective, but I agree with you. I think recent form tends to be a little bit more in demand when trying to evaluate the proper elements here. Also, there's a site called Data Golf that goes through all the different similar course layouts. So, just as an example here, TPC Scottsdale actually compares the most similarly to Southern Hills. They have it as a 96% match, followed by, and these are all courses that have been played over the last 4 years. So the Summit Club, where they had the CJ Cup in 2021, Wingfoot for the US Open in 2020. And I wrote about this over at BetSided as well. You can find that under the story of the Southern Hills stats ahead of the 2022 PGA Championship. But you then also tend to look and see, okay, well, who are the golfers that fared well at those courses? And if they were in the last couple of years, it's not the most recent of recent form, but it is something that I think you can evaluate and try and see whether or not this guy is going to match up based on their skill set. If it's a Bombers type course, then you can go ahead and track out guys that are really good at driving distance. Mentioned in one of your articles that this is a very difficult course to chip on. Who are the guys that are the best chippers on tour? So you can go and find a history over the last several years. But I'm with you. I think it is important to trust guys that are really locked in this time of year.
Yeah, recent form is going to be huge, especially for majors. I mean, look at Scotty Scheffler before the Masters. Is 3 of the 5 events before the Masters he won. So recent form is a huge indicator then. I think it's going to be a big indicator this week too.
Speaking of recent form, I know that you didn't watch the game between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics last night. Hashtag not an NBA guy. But I did, and I was very excited for a long time because Jimmy Butler was balling out, and the Heat just went on a massive run. I think they limited Boston to 14 points in the third quarter. Butler was tremendous. Like, looking at his stat line from the game, finished with 41 points, 9 rebounds, but unfortunately, he only finished with 5 assists. And the prop that I bet, the one prop that I decided to bet on Jimmy Butler was over 5.5 assists, fell just a half assist short, while just completely blowing past the stop sign. He did not pass go. He did not collect $200, and the assist prop just fell 1 short. You figure in a blowout game, if he's still getting the minutes, you might as well pass the ball a little bit. Nope, he decided he wanted to get that 40 burger, get the 9 rebounds, and left me hanging just by a thread to Jimmy Butler. So
do you remember when he got his 5th assist? At what point in the game did he get his 5th assist?
Somewhat late in the game, I think, with about 4 or 5 minutes left to go. So he was there. He was physically on the court for a while. Boston made like a little bit of a run to make it an 11-point game, but very much out of reach by the time things were all said and done. So very close on that one. I do consider it a bit of a bad beat considering every other prop he just completely exploded by. So Jimmy Butler let us down. Hopefully in game 2, that will not be the case. But, you get this feeling too, of watching a guy that used to play for your team go out and just ball out elsewhere. And Jimmy Butler was a longtime Chicago Bull, and I thought him and Derrick Rose were going to be the future together. Now both of them are gone, and now they're trying to figure out, like, who is that guy? Is it Zach LaVine? Is it DeMar DeRozan? We'd like to get past the point where you're great and not good. But just watching another Chicago Bull go out and dominate in the postseason, that one stung a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough. That's rough.
I'll say this, you and I have both experienced our fair share of some playoff disappointments along the way. I certainly know that you had yours on Saturday, but I think that's almost just as tough when you're watching a guy that you think is supposed to be in your team's jersey for a long, long time, go out and do it elsewhere. Like Anthony Rizzo's out there killing it for the New York Yankees right now. He's probably got a good chance to win another ring somewhere else. That's just a nice little dagger right into the heart. But let's dive in now. We got best bets of the night. I, of course, mentioned that I have a couple MLB plays along with the WNBA play tonight. You have a couple NHL plays and a PGA play. But before we dive into our picks, the people have spoken. We got 4 plays on the board tonight from our great folks that are following us over at Twitter at BetSided. And also, if you haven't followed BetSided on Twitter yet, you absolutely should, because that is one of the ways that you have a chance to win $500 in our PGA Championship giveaway. All you have to do, it's right at the top of the page, twitter.com/BetSided. You follow us, you retweet the top tweet that's at the top, you reply with your pick to win the PGA Championship, use the hashtag contest entry, and the winner gets a $500 Visa gift card. So don't wait. PGA Championship starts on Thursday. Go ahead and get that done. And then if you're watching the show on Twitter, after you do that, head on over to YouTube. Make sure you just search BetSided, and we're right up here. You can weigh in on the chat, weigh in on our YouTube poll for Game of the Night as well. But what is the first bet from our community for today's action? Draymond Green under 7.5 points against Dallas. I suppose I'll take this one, Ian. Draymond has basically decided that he doesn't want to shoot anymore. He does a lot of things really well. He's an incredible defensive player. His prop is for 6.5 assists tonight. His prop at 7.5 points. If you're looking on the rebounding side, he's at 8.5. It's one of the few times where you see a player projected for far more assists and far more rebounds than you do for points. But a large part of that is he just doesn't seem to be comfortable shooting the basketball anymore. So I'm perfectly okay, especially that these are 2 teams that are going to slow things down a little bit. I know people look at Golden State, they think of a team that's going to push the pace, a lot of outside shots, and they'll still take plenty. But Draymond, I know he had 14 in the last game against Memphis, but 5 points, 2 points, 5 points. He had missed this prop in the previous 5 straight games. So I'm all about going under on Draymond, especially in a newer matchup against a team like Dallas.
It's shocking for a player who I obviously recognize. I know who Draymond Green is. I don't know every player on the court, but I obviously know Draymond Green, for his point total to only be at 7.5. It just seems crazy to me from an outside perspective. But shout out, bring up that tweet one more time if we can. Oh, that's the next one. Bring out, yeah. Shout out Marc-Henri Saint-François. I bet he's Canadian. I bet he's from Quebecois. Shout out to him. I like that. Marc-Henri
Saint-François. Did I say it correctly?
Marc-Henri Saint-François.
The Chiefs for a long
accent,
time.
But that H is definitely silent, and it's definitely Henri.
It's like the T in Laurent Duvernay Tardif when he was playing for the Chiefs, and everyone in the Midwest just called him, Larry the Canadian doctor.
Yes, that's right.
You want to just try to put it together. All right, so I like the underplay there. Certainly, I can absolutely get behind it for Draymond, especially on a consistent level. What about the next one on the list for today? We got a little puck action. Canes and Rangers first period under 1.5 at -105. Are you expecting just 1 goal or less when the Canes and the Rangers drop the puck tonight?
That's a very interesting pick. I don't have a strong feel on either side of it. Shout out to @StonedBets. Because the Rangers were the top under team all season, and then every single game in their first round against the Penguins went over. Now, obviously, I'm just talking full game over-under. I don't know what the first period total over-unders were for the opening series, but that concerns me a little bit because of how bad the Rangers played defensively, but also they have Igor Shesterkin. So there's arguments you can make on either side of that pick. And also, it's just a first period bet. I mean, first period bets are like first inning bets in Major League Baseball. It's just a crapshoot. Like you're flipping a coin a little bit. So I don't hate it. I wouldn't play it myself, but I think it's very interesting how the Rangers went from literally the top under team. I think unders hit at a 60% rate in the regular season, and then they went 0-7 on the under in the first round. I'm pretty sure. Maybe one might have stayed under, but at best it was 1-6.
What was the trend that took place in the NHL for a long time? I think it was like
Chicago Blackhawks first period overs hit like 21 in a row once. It's one of the legendary trends of all time. And I never jumped on it. It was like 8 in a row, and I was like, yeah, this is not going to last. I'm not going to bet it. And like 3 weeks later, it's still hitting every night. It was crazy. I think that was in 2018, winter 2018.
Yeah, that was when I think the Hawks were still fairly competitive at that point before everything started to take a massive turn for the worse. So 2 unders from the community today. That's it's a little bit different. I always like to see a little bit of contrarian plays. What about the next one on the board for tonight? Lucas Giolito over 5.5 strikeouts. That's from Fla _ DP. So let's take a look. Giolito is always somebody that I like a lot just because he's going to go deep in games. And I know that the Royals, I was actually at the game on was it Monday night? Yeah, it was Monday night with our guy, Stanford Joe Summers. We were watching that game, and the Royals right now just cannot score. And even though they've been a team that's been pretty good at not striking out, Johnny Cueto was dialing it up. Dylan Cease had 9 strikeouts the other day. Giolito, from a stuff perspective, is just as good, perhaps if not better, than somebody like Dylan Cease. This is someone that was contending for the Cy Young. And right now, his strikeout percentage this year is at 35.2%. So to me, this feels like an absolute cakewalk. I'm actually kind of stunned that the number is only 5.5 when somebody like Cease was at 6.5, maybe even up to 7 the other day. I'm not sure what the juice is on this right now, but I love Giolito's over here.
I was immediately going to say that I hate it because I know the Royals aren't are pretty good at striking out. For like the past few weeks, they're the top team in not striking out. But I was just looking at their numbers. They've completely flipped over their last 3 games.
Yeah.
Over their last 3 games, the Royals have a strikeout rate of 35.2%, which is 3rd last in the majors over their last 3 games. So this might be a good time to jump on some regression when it comes to their strikeout rate. So if you want to look at short term, if you want to look at, recent games, it's a good bet. If you want to look at season long numbers, it's not a good bet. So, that's part of sports betting, which like, what's the sample size you want to take? Do you want to take full season, or do you want to take, the past week or so? So
yeah,
if you go past week, it's a great bet.
And Giolito right now over the course of 2022 has the highest strikeout per 9 innings of his career at 12.5. He had an unbelievable, last year. And that was 10.1. The season beforehand, it was just above 12. So this is at his highest level. The problem is that his walk rate's up for the highest of his career since 2016. But having said that, he's still absolutely throwing smoke. The stuff looks great. And against the Royals right now, that can't hit anything. It's like them in Pittsburgh that you just want to steer completely away from when it comes to any sort of offensive production. So loving the community plays so far, Ian. They're liking the way that I'm thinking, which could be bad news for them. Final one here on the docket for today. What do we have? The Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Guardians over 7.5 from @CharlieGreen96. Yeah, considering how bad the Reds pitching staff is, I think the only thing you have to traditionally worry about with the Reds is whether or not their offense is going to be able to help contribute towards unders this year. So far, it hasn't really been an issue, despite having one of the worst ranked offenses in the league. The Reds are among the best over bets over the course of the season. Up until last week, they were tops in the majors. Not sure if they are right now. I can look that up. What do you think about the over 7.5 in the battle for Ohio?
To be honest, I don't have any thoughts on that one. I know the over's been hitting a lot for the Reds, but other than that, I like it.
So Cincinnati,
overs in general have been hitting at a high rate this month too. We have an article up on BetSided, I think, today about that. I think someone wrote it.
Matt
overs hitting in May.
Our guy Matt Tessero wrote it. Yeah,
yes.
For the first month of the season, unders were hitting at about a 60% clip. Over the last 3 weeks, it's now down to 53%. So a pretty substantial move in the direction of overs. Factor in the warmer weather starting to come into play as well. But Cincinnati this year, they are one of, 7 teams in Major League Baseball that have a over 50% over percentage. And they lead the way. It's them right at the top. They're 23-12-1 on the over this year. hitting at 65.7%. Man, all these Twitter community picks, and I feel like I'm going to have to tail them a little bit because I really do like them quite a bit. So job well done from our Twitter friends today here on the Daily Betslip. I just got 4 more bets to add to the slate, so I'm very happy about that. Let's kick things off with our best bets. Ian, I don't know if you want to start things off with a couple of your NHL plays, and then I'll kick things off with a couple of the MLB plays tonight. But we got 2 games on the slate tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Where do you like things for both of those games? I know you have a play on each.
Yeah, why don't we do, I'll do my 2 NHL, then we'll flip to you, and then we'll do my PGA, because I think the next segment's PGA as well. So it'll be a nice little segue in there. So tonight, NHL, starting off with the Rangers and the Hurricanes. You're probably going to guess which way I'm going if you've been following my picks. These playoffs is going to be on the Hurricanes, and I got them to win by more than 1. I got them on the puck line at plus 145 tonight. I'm out on the New York Rangers. They did not deserve to win that first round series. They only did because of the complete goaltender mismatch. The Penguins dominated the Rangers in the first round. It wasn't even close. The Penguins averaged 18.23 high danger scoring chances per 60 minutes. That's bad. If the Rangers defense doesn't pick things up, now they have to take on a Hurricanes team who averaged a 3rd most high danger scoring chances in the regular season. They are a much better offensive team than the Penguins are. The Hurricanes might get 60 shots a game against this Rangers team unless they fix things on defense. I don't know if they're going to, though. I think this series is a complete mismatch. I think Hurricanes win in 5 games at most. So I think the domination starts tonight. Give me Hurricanes minus 1.5, plus 145. And then tonight, the opening game of the Battle of Alberta. Going to go with the Flames, just going to stay a little bit conservative with them, take them at minus 160. I think they're the better overall team than the Oilers. I've been on the Flames the entire second half of the season. I think they're the most complete team, one of the best defensive teams in the NHL. Actually, the best defensive team left, because it was only the Bruins and the Wild who are better on defense this year, at least analytically, than the Flames. So they were eliminated. Flames are now the best defense left, and we all know this about the Oilers. They just don't have the depth to be able to compete with these more complete, more deep teams. Obviously, they have one of the best lines in the NHL in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. But after that, it's not much, and they're not good defensively, and their goaltender, Mike Smith, is streaky as well. So you just got to go with a better team in this one. There's a reason why the Flames are favorites, but they're not like too big of a favorite where you have to kind of get aggressive with them. So I'm just going to stick to them just straight up on the money line, minus 160. So 2 NHL picks for tonight. Hurricanes on the puck line at plus 145 and Flames on the money line at minus 160.
And it sounds like, based on how you're setting up for game 1, it sounds like you would be on both of these 2 teams to win the series as well.
Yes. Oh, yes.
No. Well, you've been Rangers are frauds for how many months now?
I wrote the article saying they were frauds at end of January, I think it was. I then flipped on that opinion
for a while.
I flipped on it a little bit, though, because they were playing better, but then now the playoffs, they've just been extremely exposed. So my actual pick to be in the Stanley Cup Finals is the Hurricanes and the Flames, the 2 winners tonight. So we'll see if that comes to fruition.
All right, very good. Let me give you a couple MLB plays on the night, and our guy Peter weighing in again. He says, Ben, please tell me you're not betting against the New York Yankees today. No,
I
Peter,
hate the Yankees.
I've learned my lesson. I still was living in the past. Apparently, I was living in the 1970s, thinking that the Baltimore Orioles could beat the New York Yankees. Last couple nights. Wasn't Tuesday night, but Monday night I liked Kyle Bradish in that game, and he didn't get tattooed, but they didn't go the way from an underdog perspective at home that I had hoped for. So no, I am not.
Garrett Cole is pitching tonight.
Garrett Cole is pitching tonight. I think
he's a bum. Orioles, easy. Add it to my slip. Easy bet.
Listen, if you're going to have to make a change on your Rangers pick, you might have to make a change about Garrett Cole too. He's starting to figure things out. All of a sudden, he's starting to be able to throw without the sticky stuff.
I liked it when it was football season and basketball season when the New York sports teams stunk. It's not very fun living here when the Yankees and Rangers are good. It's unbearable. I hate Rangers and Yankees fans now.
Oh, and now you're right in the thick of it too. That's certainly no fun. Let me start off with a strikeout prop tonight. Mad Max Scherzer over 7.5. It's juiced pretty high at minus 140, but I think it's worth it. You mentioned the Royals as one of those teams, Ian, that you usually tend to fade on strikeout props because they've actually been really good at avoiding the strikeout this year. For a while, they were tops in baseball. But again, away from Busch Stadium, the number jumps from 19.9% to 23.8%. Conversely, Scherzer has a strikeout percentage at 34%. He's averaging about 11 and a half per 9 innings. We mentioned the Cardinals, once they go away from St. Louis, start to swing and miss at everything. And he, over the course of his career, Scherzer grew up a St. Louis Cardinals fan. So there's a little bit of extra moxie from him, especially pitching at home, going up against that former team. He's averaged 11.6 strikeouts per 9 against the Cardinals over the course of his career. So I don't think 7.5 is too much. He's come close the last couple games, despite going under. But Max Scherzer, again, at home, the numbers have been terrific so far. And at age 37, he's not slowing down. He's actually getting better. I don't mind the number here. I think he'll go deep in the game, and I think he can get anywhere between 8 and 10 tonight.
I watched Max Scherzer pitch live against the Mariners last Friday, and that was the only bet I placed for the game was over. I think might have been 7.5. It was either 6.5 or 7.5, and he missed it by 2. So now I'm sour on Max Scherzer strikeout props. So I don't hate the bet. My personal bias is that I hate it after I lost it Friday night.
I don't blame you. Yeah, it was right there for the taking, and he let it off the hook. One other MLB bet that I have for tonight. We were talking about some bad offenses just a few minutes ago with the Kansas City Royals. You know how bad the Pittsburgh Pirates offense has been? Here's their last 3 games. They've been no hit by the worst team in baseball, the Cincinnati Reds, scored 1 run. Then back-to-back shutouts by the Chicago Cubs, who have also not been one of baseball's brightest shining teams over the course of the 2022 season. Their last time that they drove in a run was 32 innings ago. 32 innings ago would be 3 games and an additional 5 innings. It has been a long-ass time since we've seen the Pirates drive in a run, and they've scored a run, but they did that as a result of a fielder's choice. Drew Smyly's on the bump for Chicago. He's actually had a solid season so far. Don't need to worry about him trying to strike out guys. Not trying to worry about what the Cubs are going to do on their side. All I know, Ian, is that the Pittsburgh Pirates cannot score, and until they prove otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and take the under on them. Under 3.5 runs at Wrigley Field tonight, -125. Please, it's 3.5. Pittsburgh hasn't gotten more than 1, in the last 32 innings.
I like it. I don't have too much to comment about that. This week I've been very distracted both by NHL and the PGA Championship, so I've looked at very little baseball. But I mean, I agree with everything you said. Their offense stinks. They can't score a run. So under 3.5 seems like a pretty nice bet.
All right. Before we dive into your other best bet of the night, let me give you my final one of the day. I've really enjoyed, this is really my first season starting to dive into the WNBA. And I got into it a little bit last year when my Chicago Sky went to the championship and ended up winning with Candace Parker. So I've started to follow it a little bit more, and we got a subscription to her hoop stats. So we've gotten a little bit more of their inside numbers there as well. And so I'm going to go back to the well. Chicago Sky are in Seattle tonight. They're taking on the Storm. We've seen this line move, actually. It's now down to 160, but I got it at 161.5 earlier in the day. And I like the under in that game. Seattle playing at home. They've played 4 games this year. They're 1-3, but they're an entirely different team playing in Seattle versus when they play on the road. They have a point differential at home of +18. They're -31 on the road. They've also done a tremendous job on the defensive end of the basketball. They've averaged 71.5 points at home. They've given up 91 points per game on the road. Conversely, you have Chicago, who comes in, and their record looks pretty good because it's 2-1. And they have one of the more efficient offenses in the WNBA, but they are dead last in points per 100 possessions. So now all of a sudden you have a team that plays really slow going up against a team that's played significantly better defense at home, only allowing about 71.5 points. I think the Storm kind of hang around here. I don't know whether or not they win. Maybe the Sky pull it off. They're 3.5 point favorites on the road. They're the best free throw shooting team in the WNBA this year. But I think it's too many points for a team that plays slow going up against a team that's been really good at home on defense. So give me the under 160.5. Bet earlier 161, but I still think 160.5 is a very fair number here for the WNBA game of the night.
Bring a WNBA team to Canada. That's my only comment about that.
Where would you have them play? Just Toronto, just because that's the hub?
I mean,
Montreal?
population-wise, probably Toronto, but I mean, if you bring them to the East Coast, we don't have any other sports to watch out there, so the best we got is junior hockey. So WNBA might get a pretty decent following if they come to the East Coast.
I would personally vote for Winnipeg because that's the closest big city in Canada to me in Kansas City, just a straight shot up I-35. And I've yet to go to Winnipeg. I have a good friend of mine who does talk radio out there, so I'd love to get out there. And the last time I was in Toronto was when I was 13, so I'm long overdue for a visit.
Never been to a Winnipeg Blue Bombers game?
Have not been to a Winnipeg Blue Bombers game. I have been to the Sky Dome, though, or the Rogers Center. It was the Sky Dome at the time.
Go Bombers.
Yeah, go Bombers. I'll catch in a little Canadian football for sure. All right, tell me who you like on the PGA side before we dive into a little bit of player fade on the PGA Tour coming up.
Yeah, I got a pick for first round leader. These are kind of fun crapshoots to bet on. Just all of if whoever leads the first round, you win your bet. So this is a kind of way to bet on some top guys at some longer odds because the odds become closer. Guys with long odds short odds get longer odds. Guys with longer odds get shorter odds because it's one round, so anything could happen. Patrick Cantlay, I already like him. He's not one of my picks this week. His approach play kind of made me end up swaying away from him for full tournament, but very good around the greens. We talked about earlier how important chipping is this week. He's 17th in strokes gained around the greens, 27th in putting, 17th in strokes gained off the tee. So, he's fantastic pretty much everywhere. Even his approach game is not bad. He's 67th. But those chipping numbers are really what's important. But what's even more important to me is that he leads the PGA Tour in first round scoring. So of all 210 guys on the PGA Tour, or at least have stats in the PGA Tour database, Patrick Cantlay, nobody shoots better in the first round than Patrick Cantlay. So just based on that, I like him 35-1 to lead the first round. I will say right before we went live, the weather update came out for the PGA Championship, and it seems like guys who are going to be teeing off early Thursday are going to have a little bit of an advantage. That works against Patrick Cantlay. He tees off at, I think, around 1 p.m. So that makes me a little bit nervous now, but I found that out right before we went live, so it's locked in. I can't change it. Hopefully his first round scoring average will make up for that. So Patrick Cantlay, 35-1, a little sprinkle bet, a little fun bet for the first round of the PGA Championship.
It's part of what's so maddening about Cantlay is because he gets off to such good starts and then he's just hanging around, and then eventually he comes in second place. So if you have an outright on Cantlay, you're just like, dude, you're right there the whole time. It's set up for you. You can get off to a great start. You just got to hang on. And he's already had 2 second place finishes in the past 3 months at the RBC Heritage, and then at the I'm blanking out, the Waste Management Open, I believe, over in Phoenix back in mid-February. One concern though about Cantlay, you're talking about chipping. Last tournament, even though he finished in second at the RBC, lost half a stroke at the RBC Heritage around the green, minus 0.5. So something to potentially worry about. But I do certainly like the play. That's a really good value for someone that is always right there in the mix for the first round. Speaking of the PGA Championship, I'm excited for this because you and I both love to dabble in the world of betting on golf. You've had great content throughout the week. I know you posted something on Twitter at Iain MacBets about, it wasn't even close to all your stories, but several ones, dark horse picks, your favorites, some stats to know about as well. You can find all of that. Just follow Iain on Twitter at Iain MacBets. You can also see it over at BetSided as well. But there's 5 names on the list for the PGA Championship. And our great producer and director, Joanne Stoner, is going to give us a name. And we're going to try and evaluate whether or not, based on their current price, it's a good bet. Is it worth a fade? Is it worth a play? Because I'm not entirely sure on a lot of these. And I don't know if you're gung-ho about any of them, if you're completely steering clear. So I think this will be a good exercise for me to try and see where I need to go ahead of it here in a little bit of PGA Championship toss-ups. Who is the first name that we're going to be evaluating on the board today. Scotty Scheffler is the favorite over at WynnBET at 10-1. It started off with Jon Rahm, but Scheffler eventually took over as Rahm started to sink back. Ian, there's no doubt that he's been the hottest golfer on tour. And it's really not even close. He's also the reigning Masters champion as well. The question, I think, becomes at that price, at 10-1, at a golf course that he's never played at before, how confident do you feel in taking him at those odds?
Well, I will say he hasn't competitively played here before, but he's gone on record. He loves this course. It's one of his favorite courses. He played here a few weeks ago and shot a 64. So he does know the course, but like I said, not from a competitive standpoint. But I will say I'm staying away from him because, like you said, I don't think there's any value there at 10-1. I think there's a little bit of a Masters hangover. We've seen him in his 2 starts since the Masters. I think he finished T14 and T15. So he's going to be in the mix. Like, he's not going to miss the cut or anything like that. Like, if you want to get conservative and bet like top 10 or top 20, probably not bad plays. But he spoke after he won the Masters that he was kind of like emotionally exhausted from the run that he went on before that, where, he got 4 wins in like the span of 2 months. And I think winning the Masters was kind of like the cap of that. And then he kind of took a step back and, took a breath. And I think it's hard to, unless your name's Tiger Woods, it's hard to win events for an entire year. So I think he's going to be in the mix. I don't think there's too much value on him to win at 10-1 though.
There's not a ton of value, but I also wonder if that's going to be the best price that you're ultimately able to get him at. I mentioned Data Golf from a little bit earlier. One of the courses that they said most compares to Southern Hills is the TPC Scottsdale, where he finished. Did he win? Did he win that tournament?
I think he won it. Yeah,
he won it. That's right. So you're talking about a guy who already shot a 64 here. Granted, it might have been not the same type of setup. Already won at one of the most similar courses to Southern Hills. I think he's worth it even at that price. Normally I like to say I never want to try and bet a golfer, if it's 10-1 or less. I think Scheffler might be the exception here, and he's already going to be fired up from the very beginning. You mentioned some of those tee times. He's going to be paired up with Colin Morikawa and Jon Rahm on Thursday afternoon. So if that's not going to get you fired up from the very beginning against that type of competition, I'm not sure what will. So I think right from the get-go, this might be a play that I have to take just because I don't know if the price is going to be any better unless he's down by, 5 strokes on Sunday afternoon. And at that point, you have to debate whether or not he's worth it at that price.
Sure.
So there you go. Scheffler on the board. I'm going yes. Ian is going no at that price. Who's next? Spiether, Jordan Spieth, 15-1, a PGA Championship away from a Grand Slam. Where do you weigh in on Spieth coming in with this opportunity ahead to compete that Grand Slam?
He's one of the most popular picks to win this week. People say the course is going to fit his style of play. I can't look past his putting, though. He sucks at putting. When he was in his prime, that used to be his biggest strength. Now it's his biggest weakness. Even when he won the RBC Heritage a few weeks ago, he lost strokes putting, which is one of the only times that's ever happened on the PGA Tour. So I guarantee you might be able to pull that off the RBC Heritage. You can't win a major tournament while losing strokes putting. So also his driving accuracy concerns me. Bermuda rough. Peter Dewey, I see in the chat saying easiest bet on the board. That's
his guy
in the Jordan Spieth fan club. I'm staying far, and he's just overvalued in general, just because everyone loves him. So driving accuracy concerns me with the Bermuda rough. The putting concerns me at a major tournament, and he's already overvalued because people love Jordan Spieth.
So, the numbers are fairly staggering, like you mentioned. He's 4th over his last 12 rounds in strokes gained total, number 1 in the field in strokes gained tee to green and ball striking. But short game, he's 80th. And putting, he's 126th. He's lost a total of 8.3 total strokes over his last 12 rounds. Like, that's a legitimate concern. And somebody, especially for Spieth, is also one of those guys that tends to try and make some of these rallies late. So I know that he's coming off first at the RBC Heritage, second at the AT&T Byron Nelson. And you're right, like, losing stroke gains while winning a tournament is very, very difficult to do. At the same time, like, I don't know if I'll get on him at 15-1. He's probably one of those guys that I hope that he'll play like an okay round. Maybe the number moves to anywhere between, 25 to 50. And then you jump on him late as he starts to make a charge on a Friday or Saturday. So he's a fade for me at this price. Peter, go ahead and jump on board, because I know that you're going to play him at 15-1. And if you get him there and you win, you can laugh at all of us for saying that we got it wrong. So Jordan Spieth 15-1, it's a tad too rich for me, even though some of the numbers are absolutely remarkable. But you got to figure out how to putt, dude. Got to figure out how to putt. What about who's next? The X-Man, Xander Schauffele. I'll go ahead and just tee you up right here. I think I know what direction you're going with. 24-1 for young Xander. What do you think?
There's no man I've lost more money betting on in major tournaments than Xander. I said at the Masters when I bet on him and he missed the cut, I was done with Xander Schauffele. But then there's that quote, which way is it from The Godfather, where he says, "They bring me back in as soon as I'm out. They bring me back
That's
in."
what I think about. They pull me back in.
Yeah, is that Godfather 3?
Yes, I believe it's Godfather 3. It's either Godfather 2 or 3. I think it's Godfather 3.
That was my workaway around saying that's how I feel about Xander, because after he missed the cut of the Masters, he won the Zurich Classic, the team event with Patrick Cantlay, and then he finished T5 at the AT&T Byron Nelson last week after a Sunday round 61. Not only that, his style of play seems to fit this course well. He's great short game, great chipper. His putting lets him down occasionally, but he's been a little bit better with his putting lately, kind of on this short run that he's on. So good form, style of play fits the course. He's an accurate driver off the tee. This might finally be the time that Xander Schauffele wins a major. And also, I think part of it why I'm on him is just because if I don't bet on him and he wins a major, then I'll never forgive myself, because I've bet on him almost every major like the past 4 years.
Fair enough. I'm probably staying away from Xander. And by the way, another example I was thinking of with other than Godfather, it's a song by Led Zeppelin. It's called "I Can't Quit You, Baby." It's like, I can't quit you, baby, so I'm going to put you down for a while. Like that. That sounds like your relationship with Xander. Like, you're not done for good, but eventually you can come running back to him. I'm staying away only because, the X-Man cometh. Really good finish last couple rounds, but even with some of these really strong scores, the overall numbers actually aren't that impressive. Looking at Schauffele, he's 44th in the field in total strokes gained. He's around middle of the pack when it comes to around the green. At 53rd. So again, talking about chipping being an important stat, he's a slightly above average here. There's no part of his game that stands out, but he just comes close. And I don't need guys that can come close. I need guys that can win if I'm betting at 24-1. And Schauffele, other than at the Olympics, hasn't given me any indication that he's going to go ahead and finally turn the corner. So he is a fade for me, even though I know that he is your pick to win. The X-Man. X also saying Ben's got this one wrong. A couple more to go. Who do we like on the board next? Brooksy. And he doesn't have to worry about his buddy Bryson DeChambeau playing. DeChambeau out officially for the PGA Championship. He's at 40-1. Before you tell me not to bet Brooks Koepka, I know you saw that stat from earlier in the day that in majors since 2016, he's like 80 something strokes under par. And that's like a 50 stroke advantage over the next level of competition. At these type of odds, I know that there's some sort of mysterious injury. But modern medicine is delightful. Modern medicine is great. Modern medicine helped Tiger Woods hang around at the Masters. At 40-1, for somebody that's put up these type of numbers consistently in majors for the last 7 years, telling me not to take a little bit of pizza money on 40-1. I think I'm in. Ian.
I've seen tweets all week of people saying that exact thing. How can you not bet Brooks Koepka? He won back-to-back PGA Championships. He was so far under par that, since 2016. I mean, you go back to 2000, Tiger Woods is a million under par better than other people at major championships. You're going to bet Tiger? No, because it's 2022. It's not 2017. It's not 2018. It's not 2019. It's not 2020. It's not 2021. It's 2022, and Brooks Koepka stinks. 155th in strokes gained around the green, 108th in strokes gained approach, 80th in putting, 110th in strokes gained tee to green. He's not good anywhere. He stinks. Did he miss the cut of the Masters? Yeah, he missed the cut of the Masters. He withdrew last week. He has an injury, so he hasn't played well this season. He has an injury. Put him at 100-1. I wouldn't bet Brooks Koepka.
Wow. What? Not even a little bit.
No, he stinks. I don't care what he did 4 years ago.
Okay, I think you're half right. He stinks, but he stinks in a limited capacity. Like, he still finished third at the Waste Management Open. Still finished top 15, top 16 at the Honda Classic, and he finished 12th at the Valspar. When he is contending, he's terrific. Like, you can make an argument that the two bets you make on Brooks Koepka should be Brooks Koepka outright and Brooks Koepka to miss the cut. Like, it's remarkable, like, what the level of variance is for him. But man, when he's in it, he's in it. And I like it at 40-1. I may end up eating a lot of crow on that one. When he misses the cut and leaves or exits the tournament due to injury. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth a stab. Final one on the board. Who do we have? Yeah, we knew this was coming, didn't it? Tiger. It's 100-1. He's, from all accounts, Ian, a lot of reports say that he looks far better, far more comfortable than he did heading into Augusta National. Also, of course, that the last time they played the PGA Championship there, he won, had a 2-stroke win in that victory. At 100-1, it's Tiger. Worth a stab or no?
No. I mean, there's no course on planet Earth that Tiger Woods knows more and will play better at than Augusta, and he still finished he didn't even finish in the top 40 there. So. Yes, he won.
Out of gas. This is his first tournament in a more than a year after a car accident almost took his leg.
And we're only a month later. Like, how much more can he improve in 1 month?
I think substantial. I'm not betting Tiger. I'm known as the guy that always hates Tiger.
I'd love to be dead wrong. I'd be willing to lose every bet I place this weekend if Tiger Woods goes on to win, but I'm just looking at it from a realistic standpoint. Like, I saw what I saw at the Masters. I'm glad he's competing. I'll be watching for Tiger. I'll be cheering for Tiger. But Augusta is his course, or if not, where I might want to bet him this year is at St. Andrews, where this Open Championship, his favorite golf course on the planet. But Southern Hills, I know he won here, but that was back in 2007. I guarantee he has not played here as often as he's played those other courses. So the experience, I just don't think is going to make up for the fact that he has played one round or one tournament of competitive golf in the past 2 years almost.
All right, so those are our player fade candidates for Wednesday. Of course, the PGA Championship starts up tomorrow. And don't forget to enter BetSided's $500 giveaway. All you got to do is go to Twitter, follow BetSided, retweet our top tweet. It's right at the top of the page. And then send us back #contest entry with the golfer that you believe is going to win. Let's dive into our game of the night. It'll be a slightly shorter conversation for this evening. It is game one of the Western Conference Finals between the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors. Latest odds on the board over at WynnBET have Golden State as a 5.5-point favorite, which is a bit surprising because the consensus number right now on Golden State is actually closer to 4.5 or 5, but WynnBET has them at -5.5 tonight. If you like Dallas as a money line underdog, they're plus 180, just under 2-1. Golden State -220 with a total of 214. Just to go through this really quickly, because I'm more on a player prop for tonight, but just sort of an overall view in this series. Golden State's actually been a very good covering team when the spread has been single digits at home. They also have a lot more rest with regards to this upcoming series than Dallas, who had to finish off the Phoenix Suns, just completely dominated them on the road in Game 7. But I do like Phoenix. I do like Golden State to cover the 5.5 here. I think they're going to be prepared for Dallas. I know that the Mavericks have put up impressive defensive numbers, but I think Golden State has the opportunity to rest up. I think it's an important series for Klay Thompson to get himself going. He really struggled in the previous series to find his shot. If he gets going, it's lights out, because as good as Dallas defends, somebody like Thompson, who really wasn't going up until the final game against Memphis and didn't have to worry about him. He had 19 and 14. His field goal percentage was not particularly good, but he had 8 3-pointers in that final Game 6 win, went 8 of 14 from beyond the arc. If he gets going, there's nobody else that you can, you can't slow everybody else down. And if Thompson becomes a key X factor here, I just don't know how Dallas is able to stay with them. So I like Golden State in Game 1. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I don't think it'll be a massive blowout, but I do like the Warriors. And then as far as my actual best bet for the game, Ian, I'm going back to the prop machine. I like the under for Kevon Looney at under 7.5 rebounds. He's actually hit this in only 2 of the last 19 games he's played, and the odds makers have kept the line at 7.5. Part of the reason for that is because he had 22 rebounds in Game 6, but he's only averaged 5.5 rebounds over those last 19 games. And the reason that it's only up at 5.5 is because of that 22-point game. Dallas is last among all remaining playoff teams in opponent defensive rebounds allowed. So even though that might benefit Looney here, I just don't think it's going to add up for him. I just don't think he gets enough minutes on the court for it to happen. So if I'm taking a side on this game, I would go Golden State minus 5.5 and the under on Kevon Looney under 7.5 rebounds. How might you flip the channel to this game to see if Luka just goes nuts? Over under 4.5 minutes watch from you for Warriors and Mavericks tonight. We tried.
Gotta be honest.
No.
I mean, it's game 1. Again, I'm not going to watch game 1.
All right.
I'll check my score app and see how my prop bet's going to do. But other than that.
Yeah. Well, you also don't watch games with the sound on. So do you have any sound on? Do you have music on?
Usually I listen to a podcast. Yeah.
Or you're listening to a podcast while games are on?
It's much better than commentators. 100%. Unless it's Bill Walton. I'll always listen to Bill Walton.
Yes. Well, that goes without question. To me, it helps me get more into the game to hear the commentary.
Depends on the sport. Depends on the sport for me. Depends on the sport and depends on the magnitude of the game. Like NHL playoffs, I've every Leafs game, I definitely had the commentary on. I'll probably listen to commentary every NHL playoff game, but MLB, mute.
Well, I mean, some of the local broadcasts, yeah, it can be a rough listen to sometime. So there you have it. Those are the best bets for the game of the night. What about the community? Where have they decided to?
I didn't give out my best bet.
Do you have one for this game?
Yeah, I still handicapped it. I still got best bets. I'm just not going to watch it.
Sorry, I screwed up here.
I do.
Go ahead, by all means. Who am I to go ahead and cut you off here? That's a bad job by me.
Yeah, it's all good. And really quick, someone tweeted at me their pick for this game, so I figured we'd bring it up because he had a little breakdown for it as well. So let's bring that up, and then I'll give out my pick really quick. Jason Whitrock. He's on Warriors minus 5.5. He says Mavericks have had success going small against teams with bigs like Suns and Jazz. Warriors play small ball better than those teams and have no big that gets exposed like those teams. Warriors rested Mavs off shorter rest and travel. You agree with that take?
I do, because what was interesting, and you're going to see this as an ongoing storyline in the NBA, DeAndre Ayton, the Sun center, is pretty pissed that he didn't get enough touches. And I know basically, the way that you can try and go against Dallas is inside and attack them inside, and they just didn't really do that. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for them. I think Golden State can play you in a wide variety of ways. So if they go small, I suppose that a team like Dallas might have a little bit of difficulty. Golden State can play you in a wide variety of elements. And I think, again, it's going to come down to whether or not they're making shots and getting open shots and adjustments. And I think they'll be fine, especially with this amount of time in game 1.
I love it. Thank you, Jason, for sending in that little breakdown. I love it when people send in breakdowns with their picks. Really quick, I'll go through my prop bet. I don't have a ton of reasoning for it, but I like it based on one main thing. It's Steph Curry to go under his point total of 27.5. Big reason why, pretty much the only reason why, Steph Curry shoots the three ball a lot. I don't know if you guys know that, but even me as hashtag non-NBA fan, pretty sure Steph Curry likes to shoot the three ball. Mavericks, one of the best 3-point defenses in the NBA. You got the Celtics, you got the Heat, number 1 and number 2, and then it's the Mavericks. They're third in opponent 3-point field goal percentage. So almost based solely on that, let's go under 27.5 for Steph Curry's point total tonight.
And you know what? He's due to hit it because he's gone over that total of 27.5 in 3 of the last 4 games, and I believe 7 of the last 9. So all about it. If he becomes more of a distributor tonight, so be it. And both of our bets cash.
Perfect.
So there you have it, guys. That's our best bets for today. Steph Curry under 27.5. I am going with Kevon Looney under 7.5 rebounds. We got the Twitter pick of Warriors 5.5 to go along with it. And it does sound like the community decided. And you know what? It was actually a little bit close. The closest chat that we have, or the closest poll that we've had over the course of the entire NBA season. But it sounds like combined with Twitter and YouTube, we are going with Dallas plus 5.5. Go Mavs. That's a hedge, I suppose, on my soon-to-be Warriors bet. Mavericks 5.5. Now the decided play from the community. I think the community was on. Oh, they were on Boston last night. They could have sided with myself and Reed, but no dice. Maybe they're on the right underdog for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Before we get out of here, Ian, I know you're going to be back on the live stream a little bit later on today with Jab Cross Hook. What do you guys have coming up tonight?
Talking UFC, just going to be a 2-man show. Myself and Reed. Amy won't be joining us tonight, so myself and Reed, we're just going to talk some UFC, recap of last week, and then give out our picks for this weekend's card. Holly Holm is fighting the woman who took down Ronda Rousey back in the day. So
I remember Holly Holm. Yeah, the way that you talk about the NBA is kind of how I feel about UFC, but I do enjoy betting UFC quite a bit, and the insight has been awesome. Check it out, Ian and Reed at 7:00 Eastern tonight. Also, for tomorrow's show, it will be our guy Peter Dewey as well as our guy Donovan Smoot. They'll be hosting Daily Betslip coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. For Ian, I'm Ben. For our producer and director, Joanne Stoner. Appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us here on Wednesday's show. Stick around, hang out with Ian for Jab Crosshook coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern. May all of your best bets hit tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. So long, everybody.